Hello and thanks for joining the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Today on the program, police arrest man who threatened to kill Atiku Abubakar, his wife and daughter over presidential ambition. Federal government reconvenes tripartite committee on minimum wage for October the 4th as Labour kicks off strike. And later on the show, Buratai expresses concern over setbacks in war against Boko Haram. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Koladi Otitoju, Tunde Abaton and Asuko James. Journalist Hangout starts now. Well, it's exactly 141 days to the conduct of the 2019 general election in Nigeria. The political atmosphere in the country is getting more tense as we inch towards the polls. We'll always be here to give you a blow-by-blow analysis of events shaping the polity. One of the topics on the menu today has to do with the 2019 election, and let's go straight to that. Well, to issue a threat isn't one thing. To handle the backlash such action brings is a different ballgame. The man behind the death threat issued to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has been exposed. Operatives of the Nigerian police arrested the alleged fraudster, 43-year-old Augustus Akpan, who had threatened to kill Atiku and members of his family if they failed to withdraw from the 2019 presidential race. Police spokesman Jimoh Moshood said he was trailed and arrested along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in Lagos. We ask, is the threat worth the while? Gentlemen, thank you for joining on the show this evening. Let me begin with you, Babajide. Augustus Akpan has confessed to the crime, and as a matter of fact, he admitted that he resorted to the threat and intimidation when all efforts to extort money from the former vice president, were unsuccessful. Is this a change of narrative from what appears to be a politically motivated threat to just an economic crime?
Well, you know, when the story broke, many people felt, well, this must have come from some Buhari irredentists, some Buhari supporters with extreme passion for the president. But as we have seen now, this guy is just a fraudster, just trying to use the popularity of the president to extort money from Atiku, posing as a Buhari supporter, you know, who does not want Atiku to contest the presidency. Because he was saying, look, I know that your party will not pick you as their candidate, but if they pick you, we will assassinate you, we will blow up your plane, you know, issuing all kinds of threats.
I'm watching you and your family.
Yes, we know the places that your daughters and your wives travel to. We are going to blow up your plane and all that. When we issued those threats, Atiku copied his phone number and filed a petition. And the Abakari and his team went to work, and he was caught somewhere in Lagos. So I really, if your intention was to simply intimidate Atiku, get him to pull out of the presidential race, why must you try to extort money from him, you know? I guess that even after issuing those threats, he now continued to try to extort money from them in exchange for leaving them in peace. So, what is a good thing that the police went to work, and as we have seen repeatedly, the IG's intelligence response team led by Abakari has succeeded again, and this embarrassment has finally ended. You know, so it's a good thing. Those who thought Buhari supporters were behind this, at least can now see that this is just the efforts of an apparently deranged fraudster. And it is hoped that this kind of threats in an election year will not happen again. 13 people contesting in PDP. Everyone has the right to contest for Buhari's position. And if at the end of the day, the Nigerian people think, oh, Buhari, you are the best, so be it. An individual shouldn't sit down and be issuing threats to presidential aspirants. So this guy deserves to rot in jail so that others can learn from the treatment, the justice that hopefully will be served on him.
Today, Abaton, I have read quite a number of comments on this issue, and there are some who are saying there's a need to probe this further, that the confession doesn't tally. If you want to extort money, then what's the relationship between that and sending that kind of a message? Would you say that this convention is convincing enough?
Well, on the basis of the allegation, where any allegation is worth investigating, it is possible for us to dismiss it as not too serious. But you and I know that during the time of politics in Nigeria, politics is very sensitive in Nigeria. People can use anything to extort money or to blackmail in one way or the other. So it was good that the Vice President was bold enough, because I am telling you, many Nigerians will have been going through this similar thing. Look at what happened to the man that was arrested in Magodo. He has duped many Nigerians. I want to believe that those people who easily succumb to such stress are people who have no good background, or who themselves are not sincere, or their means of livelihood is suspect. If it is not suspect, you should be bold enough to approach the police and tell them so thing. I had a similar experience in 2011. Somebody sent a text to me where the following day I was driving to the office. He called me on phone. They know when I left home and did the same thing. I just drove straight to the police at Area F or something, and they took it there. Fortunately, they now ask me questions whether I really bought a car or moved it a house. I confirmed it, and they moved in. At the end of the day, we were able to discover that those guys live somewhere in part of Lagos. Then after a week, they stopped, and they have stopped doing that. I think Nigerians should be bold enough to challenge anybody who goes out to do another thing, because many other Nigerians will have fallen victim of this shameless idiot who believes he's doing it. Because with the telephone now, thank God that the police moved things quickly. It is very easy to get anybody. Even if the person has a registered SIM, his true caller can feed him at any point in time.
That's right.
So we thank God that the Vice President did not dismiss it. Because you may dismiss it with a wave of the hand, and the person will take a step further.
Take advantage of
and
it.
And within the political party itself, it is possible for you to suspect anybody. Maybe it is my political enemies that are after it, and it may not be. So it was good that the Vice President did. And it was also good that the Inspector General of Police treated the matter as a matter of urgent national importance, irrespective of whether it was the former Vice President or not. And it will serve a strong warning to others who are thinking of using the excuse of the environment. Because, people try to establish an alibi. If they know that you are in serious contention with somebody that is in public knowledge, they will not commit a crime at that particular point in time to divert the attention from them.
I see.
So it was good that both the police and the Vice President moved swiftly, and characters like this should not be allowed to walk on the street of Nigeria.
Atiku, this is not the first time we're hearing cases like this. Recall the lawmaker in Osun State who was also, there's a story of him they got pictures of his, some nude pictures, and wanted to extort some money from him. This particular suspect, according to the police, is fluent in English, Ibibio, Russian, and Portuguese languages, respectively. And when you meet people like this, they appear to be highly educated. Is it a fallout of unemployment? Because that's what we blame most of the time.
That's what most people will say is unemployment. But and it's part of the moral decadence, in society. If you went to school and you can speak Russian, you can speak Portuguese, apart from him being, a native of Ibibio, that's, you should be able to get something tangible to do. There's nothing stopping him, like I was reading somewhere on social media, they said there's nothing stopping him from, giving Atiku a heads up and telling him, oh, I can speak these languages. Can I be like part of your media team or something? You understand? And
that might not fetch him as much money as he wants.
You know, so that is what you are thinking. But the thing is, if actually he wanted a job, but this is someone that is a professional fraudster. You know, Atiku is not the first person that he has defrauded. From his confessional statement, he had so many influential people have fallen prey to him. So Atiku was just like his Waterloo. He met his Waterloo with someone who is higher than every other influential person that he has, you know, duped in the past. So it's not about, this one now is not about him not having a job. It's something that
what he chose to do.
You know, and he just decided to do it. Well, it's just that he fell into the wrong hands. And thankfully, now that we have a good security outfit, there is the IGP intelligence response team. Any crime that's being committed, especially in Lagos, is very, very easy to crack down, particularly using your phones. You know, the GPRs will find you out. So he made a mistake by doing that, particularly in Lagos, because I know once when my some armed robbers actually, you know, stole my brother's car, my elder brother's car. They actually found the car somewhere in Badagry, you know. So they found that car there, meaning that they traced, because they took his phone and they used that phone to still call his friends. So that was how they were able to trace the car. So there's no how one will use his phone, you know, to commit crime in Lagos or any part of Nigeria that it won't be traced. So he just met his Waterloo, you know, trying to, you know, stalk the former vice president.
What is really interesting here is the fact that Babajide, the police appears to have the capacity to put on a sterling performance when they want to. The big question is, for those who cannot petition the president, those who do not have access to the IGP intelligence team, you know, a situation happened just the next house to where I live. And then a couple were killed overnight. You know, it was during, you know, that challenge of that season of killing in Lagos, those court guys. But this happened in Bega. And I met with the brother of one of the deceased who told me that he has been going to the police over and over and they've been extorting him. So he just gave up on the case. So what happens to people who are not as popular as Atiku? Don't they also deserve some justice in this country?
Yes, and the country deserves a very effective policing structure, policing system. And the RRS is capable of doing everything that the IGP's intelligence response team does. They have the capacity, they have the equipment, because basically it's the tracking devices, the sophisticated tracking devices that they have access to that has really made them special. There are talents in the police, but we all know that the IRT, they give them the best equipment that the police have. So that's why they are very well trained. That's why it was really painful to people when kidnappers killed some of the operatives of the IR team in Chikun local government in Kaduna sometime last month. So what is really lacking is the democratization of the sophisticated gadgets that can actually improve the capacity and capability of the police to police our country effectively. We have Abakiari's team. They've been recording successes, but this has to be duplicated. In other areas. Maybe you can break the country into like eight divisions, 8 zones, and let each zone have the same capacity that the IG's response team has.
Even the same equipment.
Once you do that, in Lagos now, the crimes that people committed in the past and got away with, they can't, because DSU's RRS team, they have the equipment. They will go, even if you steal a phone now in Lagos, it can be easily found. It can be easily found. Remember the couple that committed the crime the other day on the Lagos highway. and they were arrested. They didn't expect it. And there were people who stole phones in South Africa, brought those phones to Nigeria, and they had arrested him, successfully cracked them, you know. So if we buy it, and that's why it's also dangerous to buy some of these phones that they call them London use. They're actually stolen. All those phones are stolen.
Because this particular man, the phone he used to send all these threat messages was stolen. But fortunately for the woman, she had reported that case to the police. Gentlemen, let me just quickly have your final take on this development. Nigerians need to trust the police more and report cases of theft these days.
Well, I think, yes, besides that, I think the government too has to step up. We know that the problem of the Nigerian police is should not be restrained to the issue of the payment they made, but the kind of atmosphere, the kind of the work environment. Work environment also takes into consideration the technology that is easily accessible to them. If they have the required technology and the work environment is okay, they can get to anywhere. Nobody likes to trouble himself in getting to the end of a particular investigation.
That's right.
They has to be more motivated. Like he said, I don't know why almost every year you don't hear of any capital votes to the Nigerian police. Because the policing today is not a question of 20 years ago. With technology, you can get anybody. And I think no police officers want to risk his life. And no police officer want to handle a case in which he will not get a result.
Oscar, let me have your final thoughts on this topic.
I think more community policing will help, reduce crime. And then crime doesn't pay. I think that is what all youth should know, that crime doesn't pay. So if you have all the skill, like this guy can speak all the languages, why go into crime?
We're moving on now to other issues. The Nigerian government and organized labor are at loggerheads. The knotty issue of the new national minimum wage is the bone of contention. And as the government and labor unions appear to be working at variance, there is no respite in sight. Today, Nigerian workers embarked on a warning strike over the refusal of government to reconvene the tripartite committee that will recommend a new minimum wage. A last-ditch meeting to forestall the strike was deadlocked Wednesday night, and government announced that the committee will now reconvene on October the 4th to conclude the negotiation process. Is this a case of putting the ass before the cart or an afterthought? Babajide, I spoke earlier with the first deputy president of TUC on the breakfast show, Sunday Salako, and I probed him that what angered labor was the indefinite suspension of the tripartite committee. Now, federal government has shown commitment that next week, Thursday, they're going to meet, but he's of the opinion that there is no seriousness on the part of government, that they had given them 2 weeks warning. How come that decision is coming a night before the expiration of that period?
If the NLC have chosen to go on strike, clearly the government asked for it. The action of the government clearly showed that it was not taking this matter seriously. Let me start this way. The president inaugurated the tripartite committee in November.
That's right.
No meeting was held until March.
That's right.
Okay, that's 4 months. Is that urgency? That's not urgency.
We have a minister for labor.
Now, in May, the Minister of Labor, during the Labor Workers' Day, promised that by September ending, that
a new minimum wage.
You and I know that we have come, literally speaking,
to the end of
September ending. There's no sign of that happening. Before then, we had, Labor came up with his own idea of what the minimum wage should be. Did you hear anything from government suggesting that, oh, this is what we think we can pay? Even the federal government. The federal government could say, okay, this is what we could pay. That didn't happen. And then the labor minister told Nigerians that governors, because there are governors are meant to represent each of the geopolitical zones on that committee. Well, these people have shown a reluctance to sit down and engage labor. Because the governors, that was what the labor minister said, that governors have been unserious about this matter. And that was like two months ago that the labor minister complained, almost 3 months, that governors have shown no urgency, have shown no seriousness. So, and NLC has been looking at all of this. How do Nigerians expect the NLC to react? The NLC of Hassan Sumonu, the NLC of even Oshiomhole, by now would have reacted the way these people are just reacting. And to show that, I mean, to show even utter disrespect to labor, you decided to adjourn indefinitely. And those guys say, no, you can't do that, because it is that tripartite committee that would take that decision. We can meet with labor. All these meetings that they are calling, no, the government is meeting with labor and all that. No, that is not where the decision will be made. It is that tripartite committee that will take that decision and then get it across to President Buhari. President Buhari will now get across to the National Assembly to say, we now have no minimum wage. But if we do not allow that committee to sit, there's nothing will be achieved at the end of the day. So this is a strike that the conduct of the government literally invited.
That's all right.
And to me, it's like they are exploiting the weakness of labor. In all my years of reporting labor matters and all that, I've never seen labor this weak in Nigeria. This is, they are weak, they are divided, and it appears that government is even exploiting that the weakness of labor.
The good thing for them is that they appear to be united over this struggle for minimum wage. You even heard the Minister of Labor jokingly saying that how come NLC is now recognizing some unrecognized unions when it comes to minimum wage. But the big question is, why is it that strike appears to be the only language that government understands? So before, a 2-week ultimatum was given, a meeting wasn't called until a night before the expiration of that ultimatum.
Well, I think if you know the history of labor movement in Nigeria, not only the federal government, even the organized private sector, people don't respect, we have no respect for humanity in Africa. Because if you have respect, if there's according to the labor law, they give an ultimatum, 2 weeks. Why should it take exactly the expiration of that 2 weeks for the government to appreciate and recognize that there's an ultimatum that is waiting in the wings? It shows lack of respect either for organized labor or for the NLC or for the leadership, or lack of sincerity on the part of the government. We have had many movements in Nigeria, and I think what we needed to do is that in a country where there's respect for humanity and labor law, because the organized private sector too, they are also culpable. Because of the economic situation of the country, you see people go to many other industries in Lagos, you see people the way they are being treated. You look at the banking industry. By the first quarter of the year, you hear social bank has declined 90 billion profit. And yes, there's still casualization in the banking sector. So apart from the federal government, I think the organized labor in Nigeria too has enough disdain for organized labor. And it is so bad. And I think it is unfortunate that until you apply the extreme, the big stick, or you go to the extreme, you won't get what you want or what you deserve in Nigeria. As it is with the government, so it is with the private sector, as it is with, even in some households too, until people go to the extreme. And I think we are just playing upon our humanity. It is, the government can solve a lot of problems. How much have we lost today? We have lost a lot of money today. People cannot access bank. When you go to the port, you cannot clear anything. So in a country that is just coming out of recession, I don't think we need any distraction. I
believe some banks were still open today. Someone jokingly tweeted earlier that I thought there was strike. How come there is a hold up on the third mainland and all of that? We've seen some level of compliance, no doubt. But then, is this sacrifice worth it? You recall that the last report we took about workers reacting to this development, some of them said, we have not collected salaries. I mean, it is going, they say where two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers.
Just like you're saying about compliance, I know so many, and I think the private sector, they are not really involved in the strike because, and that is another problem that is going to, look as if the strike is not even existing, And I went to a couple of banks, some were closed. The long queues at the ATM point was also very, very long, and all that. Now, the issues is something that they would have addressed way back, but I'm not sure the government has the capacity to do it. One, they will tell you there's no money. And then even the governors who are part of the committee, some of them will tell you they can't. Look at 18,000. Some governors can't even pay the 18,000. So even if you move it up, there will be some states that will be liquidated. They won't be able to do anything. They won't be able to pay salaries. And already some states are even owing salaries. So Nigeria is in a very, very dire situation right now. And this period that the NLC is bringing this strike, in the next 1 week, some people are supposed to be collecting salaries and they're on strike. Some people, that is why most workers are not too in tune with it. They said, okay, why didn't you do it maybe like October? After we collect our September salary, then we can now go on strike. So the compliance has not been what we really wanted. And this comes with what many Nigerians say. Most Nigerians have lost trust. They distrust the NLC. They don't believe that they have the capacity to, fight the government to get what they want or what everybody wants. And it is just their antecedents. Because they believe that, the past we have been sacrificing and we've not seen any result. And that is why this strike is looking as if it's not existing. Yes, a couple of unions have been able to clamp down on some of their own, sector, but it has not been what we really wanted. When once you have a strike that the NURTW is not involved, then that strike is not, because definitely people will still go out. They will still go out to their workplace. They will still go and go to the market and everything. The only place that you won't have people will just be in the banks like now. Nobody is working in most banks. But if the NLC really wants this to be, the strike that everybody wants, they have to involve the private sector.
And get everyone involved.
Exactly.
The big question, Babajide, is how does government pay this morning? I raised that issue with the... Okay, let's take a break now, and when we come back, we'll talk more about this issue. Stay with us. Well, the late-night meeting between the federal government and labor unions could not broker the desired peace to avoid the strike action that kick-started today. But Babajide, I was talking about how government can pay for this. I raised this question with the labor leader earlier, and he was making reference to the excessive spending on the part of government. He even suggested that perhaps it's time that governors start paying salaries from their security votes.
Well, the security votes should be scrapped, because what do they really use security votes for? There is a separate appropriation of funds for security. It's separate. And then you have security votes. Out of money set aside for security, governments, state governments support the police. State governments that have their own paramilitary security outfits, like you have in Lagos, they also have in Kaduna now. They fund them. So security vote is what governors just use the way they like. It's not audited. There is a governor who takes security vote of 350 million. And what does he do? It takes like 200 million out of it, converts it to dollar, and sends it abroad. The security vote is an opportunity for governors to steal without being called to account, without being asked to account for what they've done. Because when Buhari came into power in December 31, 1983. He arrested and jailed governors then for spending security votes recklessly. But today what we have is a situation in which every governor determines how much his security vote should be. And not only that, it's not subjected to any form of audit. So they get away with spending. If people come to visit them, if they want to give them transport money, it is from this security vote. So if governors will reduce their excessive spending on frivolities, on things that do not positively affect the people, honestly, they can find some money to pay these guys. You see governors going to Abuja frequently. Some of them spend 3 days or 4 days out of 7 in Abuja. And they go to Abuja by charter flight, which they pay for in dollars. So if they can just, you saw what the governor of Niger did now, that the vote to government house, he reduced the vote to government house by 200 million after he took over. That was what he inherited from his, for the government that he supplanted. The vote to government house alone, he reduced it by 200 million. And I remember that even the governor of Imo State did the same thing when he said, look, my security vote, I will commit it to education. So the avenues through which the resources of our states are leaking are just too many. So now if they will show discipline, they can find some money to pay. I know that the governor of Gombe State said he was prepared to pay 50 or 53,000. He said it during the workers' day celebration last year. So there are states that can pay. There are states that can pay. I know that a lot of the states won't be able to pay. But if states begin to show discipline and they show inventiveness in the area of revenue generation.
That's right.
Because what everyone does is just wait for the month to end and then they go to Abuja, the money is shared. They must show inventiveness, they must show creativity in terms of internal revenue generation.
That's right.
That way, they will be able to pay. And then nothing says that if you have excess load in terms of the workforce, that you can't do anything about it. Bola Tinubu here reduced the workforce because he felt at that time that Lagos had too many workers. A lot of these governors, for fear of losing the election, they can't take such bold decisions.
So let me just hold it for a bit.
If you can do, if you don't need more than 30,000 workers, why should you have 50,000 workers?
I understand that Nelson has been online for a while. Nelson from Edo State. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, gentlemen, and good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, I want to say this issue of minimum wage, we've been on it for years. And I think there will be no solution. Since we like copying the Western world, why can't we copy the right one? Why can't we just, as you can see, most states, all the states in Nigeria, since we believe in a government whereby every month you go to Abuja and receive salary, which I'm talking in terms of the governors now. And most of the states, they don't receive the same salary. You understand? Then the issue is that if you fix a minimum wage, what about the state that receive lesser salary? A state that could not pay $55, which is the recent minimum wage, which is 18,000 naira. We are talking about $55. You are expecting Nigerians to live with $55 a month. Why can't we adopt pay according to the hour you work, so that the state that cannot adopt the new minimum wage, then they can easily tell their workers to work for 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day according to the hours you can pay. Then the state that can pay higher, then they can tell their workers to work for 18 hours. I think that is the best solution that can really put a definite ending to this issue of increasing minimum wage or not increasing minimum wage. Thank you and good evening.
Your contribution, Nelson, from Edo State.
Let me say very quickly that the minimum wage is a constitutional issue. People say, oh, this states should not be made to pay the same minimum wage. We can only do that if we amend the Constitution. It's just like talking about state police. The Constitution says there shall be one police. That's what the Constitution says. And it's the same thing that it says about the minimum wage, that there shall be a minimum wage in our country. And the minimum wage must be reviewed upwards every 5 years. So unless we amend our Constitution, some of these things that Nelson proposed cannot happen.
I'm asked to wrap this topic. I'm actually tempted to ask you one more question, so if you can do that in a minute each. This issue of cutting government spending. Remember that Mr. President and his vice actually talked about taking 50% of their salary. I mean, they publicly talked about this issue at the inaugural stage of this administration. But we still have governors having political stalwarts, special advisors and all of that. What way forward? 1 minute.
Well, I think the most important thing with our country is that we have to get to the fundamentals of our problem. The issue of a minimum wage, people striking, I think started with military governance in Nigeria. Because our political economy is not rooted in the reality of the Nigerian nation. When the military came from 12 states, from 4 regions, they took it to 12 states. After states, they took it to 19 states. After 19 states, we have 23 states. After that, 36 states. With the same capacity to generate money, the essence is to weaken the states and empower the federal government. And when you have a state that cannot even absorb 10,000 workers, they cannot even pay 18,000, what is the essence of, no matter how you try, executive governors, commissioners, there are provisions in the essence constitution of Nigeria, like he said. Except, of course, we have to reorder the whole thing in Nigeria.
Now restructure,
governors and
so to speak.
officials will continue to live large at the expense of the people who are working.
It's all right. Let us just quickly peg it there. 1 minute, Atiku. What way forward for government at this time? Because I recall that the Labour leader was talking about 66,000.
56,000.
He actually mentioned 66,500 or something. And I'm wondering, states that can't pay 18,000 naira, how can this fly?
I think what they should do is they have to come to a level whereby, okay, 18, then 56. What can we afford? Is it going to be 30? Is it going to be 40? Then from there it becomes a minimum wage. This morning I was looking at, okay, in some climes, there's a minimum wage, and then in that minimum wage is even per hour. So if Nigeria can also adopt that so that people can work in shift and have another job and all that, but our economy is not a 24-hour economy, so that might not really work. So it depends on how the government has to sit down with labor. Don't forget, I think it was yesterday, the CBN was saying something about going into recession again. If the banks are not working, the ports not working, and so many sectors are not working, that is an avenue to go into recession again.
We have to wrap it there. I think it was a Tanzania president who pictures of him and his cabinet showed flying a commercial flight. I think it was economy class to the United Nations General Assembly. We're looking forward to some more African leaders, especially Nigerians, taking after that. One of the qualities of an accomplished war commander is the ability to turn setbacks to victories. Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Atiku Buratai, is treading that path. Faced with a resurgent Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, Buratai is rallying his troops to turn the tide and flush insurgents out of the country. Declaring open the second and third quarter combined Chief of Army Staff Conference in Abuja, General Buratai implored all theater commanders to brace up and provide the needed leadership for troops. Buratai is talking about leadership, and precisely he made mention the fact that some attacks that we have witnessed recently has been as a result of lack of leadership traits amongst certain junior officers. How do you react to this?
I disagree.
He's even asked some the Army Training Institutes to step up trainings in this light.
I disagree. Because what should a commander do when you have an army base in Borno North, where Boko Haram is very strong? The military doesn't admit And the terrorists can see that at best, maybe you have about 60 soldiers at the location. They come with about 300 fighters, carrying the same weapons that our soldiers carry. What will the soldiers do? What will the commander do? They will flee. And that's what happened in Gudumbali. The white soldier lives to fight another day. Boko Haram has been using strength in numbers against our troops. And those ambushes, some of those ambushes are not what you plan for. One of the, because the Chief of Army Staff Conference is usually meant, it's meant to appraise the successes and the problems of that the army is going through. But when I read some of the stories that I've read, I've seen clearly that they are not talking about the problems. You can't say that the situation that we have is purely leadership deficit on the part of the junior commanders. They're talking about majors and captains. No. If they are overwhelmed, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. And these guys know they do their due diligence, they do some intelligence before attacking any army base. Because if you are a terrorist, you want to attack an army base, you have to be sure of yourself. And the successes recorded against us in the attack on army bases, especially in the last two or 3 months, suggest that these guys can't be taken lightly. Remember the ambush in Bama, where even the commander of Operation Lafayette Dole at the time, General Rogers Nicholas, told us that they lost 2 army trucks. You know what that means, to lose 2 army trucks to the enemy. And then the following day, they attacked another army base in a town called Jili in Yobe State, where they killed a lot of our soldiers. We kept quiet over it for some time, and then we had this funeral. We have relations of the soldiers were invited. We didn't agree that anybody was killed. That is our style. The truth is, the army has over time stopped inserting intel operators, into their operations. For example, in a unit, you need those intelligence officers, you need to insert them, they have to be part of what you are doing. And some of them too have to work on the enemy.
That's right.
The Mossad, they do that a lot. It's risky, but we are not prepared to take that kind of risk. Until we begin to fuse tactical intelligence with operational intelligence, honestly, we will continue to have problems with this war. And over time, we've been underrating the enemy. And we are seeing clearly that, yes, the enemy is degraded. I agree. But it's not a defeated enemy. A defeated enemy won't go and be attacking army bases and chasing soldiers away. So we have to move. I disagree with the army chief that this problem is just purely leadership. We have even serious equipment deficit. If you talk to any soldier on the battlefield, they will tell you that we have equipment deficit. Let's ask ourselves, the T-72 Russian tanks that enabled us to take over those towns that Boko Haram occupied just before the election, how many of them are serviceable at this time?
We'll get back to that. Let me bring into this discourse the position of government that Boko Haram is technically defeated, so to speak, is highly debated. However, the military and their boss is of the opinion that things have gotten better. Burate, for instance, is making reference to what transpired between 2013 and mid-2015. when territories were literally under the hold of Boko Haram. According to him, they no longer hold any territory within a sovereign state. Would you say that things are not as bad as...
Well, I think with the situation of things now, there's something where Nigerians we are missing a lot of things, and that is that we try to deceive ourselves a lot, and the government try to pretend as if when they see a real situation, they will pretend as if the situation is surmountable.
Are you saying that his position is not accurate?
What I'm saying is that in the past 10 years, we have been having this particular thing. The earlier, the better we accept it as a condition in Nigeria that Boko Haram issue, insurgency is a permanent feature of the Nigerian life. And the moment you have accepted it as a permanent feature, then you now have a long-term plan towards containing it. If after 6 months of so-called tactical defeat, they can still launch technical defeat. They can still launch attack, unrestrained attack on our command basis. It means we are just deceiving ourselves. It means we are not being realistic enough about the potency of the enemy, because the enemy is so potent. They are always reorganizing while we are static. Like he said, if the system lacks operational intelligence gathering, if there's no intelligence gathering, there's no way your tactics can work. So the thing is that Nigerian government should accept, like what is happening in the Middle East, they have accepted that Hezbollah and all these people will continue fighting. So it is better we accept that Boko Haram and other insurgencies have become a way of life. If we know that it's a way of life, that it cannot be extinguished, then we will now design programs in long-term measures, both the military, the army and the air force, so to say. Design a long-term effort and accept it as part of our national life and contain them. Because if there's no containment, they will continue to grow in wings, and they have grown now, such that they can attack any base and occupy it and do what they like. So
I'm not quite sure.
The story that no Nigerian territory is under their control cannot be supported by facts that we have seen.
I have personally listed communities in Boko Haram, and I came on this program on May 29. I listed. I've not seen anybody who will come and tell me that it is a lie. The Lake Chad area, for example, where the Abu Musab Banawi faction of Boko Haram occupies, is not Nigerian territory. We even admit that they occupy it, and we came up the code name for the operation of the army now is Operation Last Hold, meaning that the last place that they are holding, that we want to take it over. So every time you hear no Nigerian territory in the hands of Boko Haram, you just ask yourself, why do we enjoy lying like this, as if we don't believe in God? The governor of the chief of army staff once said something, and I held on to it. He said there is no local government in Nigeria that Boko Haram completely controls. You can see that that is different from saying
that there is no...
What we have seen is that we will be in charge of the local government headquarters, but the boys will be controlling the interland and even imposing taxes on residents, holding on to people. So sometimes the army will come, they will say, we rescued 800 people. How do if they were not held in such communities hosted by Boko Haram, how could you rescue 800 people? So I think what Burate thinks is that when people hear that, Boko Haram is occupying Nigerian territory, they will get angry. But we know that Shekau himself is still in Sambisa forest, and that is Nigerian territory.
Asoko, according to the Chief of Army Staff, the Operation Last Hold is designed to finally degrade the insurgents in Borno North and Lake Chad Basin, as well as
because they know that's where they are.
As well as facilitating the return of internally displaced persons to their ancestral homes. That is ongoing in these places. Is this a bit different from the reality as Babajide mentioned earlier?
No, that is the reality. Because for any, for the army to say Operation Last Hold, it means that is the central place that they are heading to. I think recently the Nigerian Air Force started to train,
even went to train people who can swim.
Who can swim because they know that that particular area is more of a lake, more.
Yes, that's why they find it very difficult.
So they need the amphibious soldiers to penetrate that particular region.
That's right.
So they know that if they really want that particular area, which is the Lake Chad, that is where the deadliest group of the sect reside.
And they are the ones killing soldiers for fun.
They are the ones killing now. They are more brutal than even the Shekau now. So they have to find a way to...
Let me just hold you for a bit to take this call from the United Kingdom. Hello, Ademola. Welcome to Journalist Hangout.
Thank you very much. This is Ademola speaking here. I just want to commend the team. But I want analysis in the area of foreign interference in this battle. There is local intelligence and international intelligence that Iran directly supporting Boko Haram. Is the government doing anything, or the media investigation do anything to advise our military? I think that's one of the reasons, in quote, why they have not been able to be using military resources from Russia or whatever. The president also alluded to the fact that there is foreign interference. I've listened to Jide some time ago analyzing this as well. What are they doing? What is our military doing? What is the government doing to dissuade Iran in any way to stop supporting Boko Haram so that Nigeria can have peace? Thank you very much. You are doing a very good job. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure that anybody has evidence that Iran is supporting Boko Haram. I really don't. I don't think that is the truth.
Exactly.
The thing is, our borders are porous. The areas where Boko Haram appears to be active now, in Borno North, where we share borders with Niger Republic. Niger Republic, as I've said before, is like a failed state. Terrorists move in and out. A lot of people come here to kill us. They come in through Niger Republic. They have cells. Boko Haram has active cells in Niger Republic and Chad, especially in N'Djamena. So they can bring in these guys when they need them. So away from the prying eyes of our reconnaissance aircraft, of our armed forces, when they need them, they just move into Nigeria. Those borders are not manned.
Let me have your final take, Asoko, on this issue. He mentioned Niger Republic. Recently, Nigeria signed a memorandum of understanding with that country. What's really happening with our international collaboration as regards
that one is more of economic than security, because if you look at it, it is they want to get something from us, and the target is always our oil. So that one is out of it. In terms of security and all that, I know way back during Goodluck Jonathan's time, it was even Chad that we were really working with. That was
Chad
when
came to fight here.
Yeah, the multinational joint task force was
we
really...
still have the multinational joint task force under the commander of a Nigerian officer, but it is not well funded. And you can see that even Chad said it will no longer get involved, because you can't be contributing troops. Troops are being killed, and then it's not well funded. So we need the support of Chad and Cameroon to tame these guys.
Exactly.
But they too also have issues in Boko Haram. Boko Haram is killing people in both countries. So as you have Boko Haram problem, they have Boko Haram problem. But Niger is the big problem that we need to solve. Because those Boko Haram guys coming here to kill people, they come in from Niger Republic, they move into Niger Republic freely. So if there is a government in place, a very active government, the Chad is not that weak. If we have a very active government in Niger that can help us, then the end of Boko Haram will come sooner than later.
We're wrapping up now in 30 seconds. I just want your final thoughts on this issue. Some have suggested that there is need for new hands amongst the security chiefs. Do you concur?
Well, we have been talking about that for the past 6 months, but it will appear that not until after the next year election,
the president won't change the services.
So let me have your final thoughts on this.
No, I think it's high time those officers, most of them have been taking, let them go back to their families, see their families. They've not been
the fighters.
The fighters, they need to go back. Let them get refreshed.
Battle fatigue.
Because they are battle fatigued, And this is what we were discussing the other day.
Did you see the pictures of soldiers that killed themselves in Goza?
Yes, recently, on social media.
Killed themselves, kill each other's girlfriends.
Because of girlfriends.
That's frustration.
That is frustration.
Gentlemen, we have to go. Babajide Kolade Oditsoju, thank you for coming on the show. Tunde Abaton and Nasoko James, it's
Thank
always
you
a
so
pleasure to have you come.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Well, I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.